So there is that, the positive side of alcohol. We know what it is, but we rarely talk about it because we also know what the danger is. The danger we have made a lot of beautiful films about. And Thomas's mission was not to make another one of these. He wanted to celebrate it to a degree. He also obviously wanted to touch upon the darker side of it, but he wanted to be a celebration of alcohol and more so a celebration of life.
Mads, I want to come back to kind of to talk about another round, and the idea of kind of the central theme of this film. Do you think that kind of it's a very Danish sensibility, kind of the idea of, the in terms of kind of the drinking culture, or in terms of kind of how that's shown in the film? Do you think that is kind of a Danish sensibility?
Not anymore, I do. I mean, we were afraid, obviously, that it was too Danish in that sense. It has proven not to be. Obviously, the drinking games when you're graduating is very Danish, but then you will have something else in Italy or something that you can recognize in America or whatever. But the whole idea, the philosophy behind the paper that he wrote, this Norwegian philosopher, that we are born with at least 2 beers too little in our blood system, makes sense. I mean, we all know what it does to you. We know that it lifts conversation. We know that you might be even more creative if you dare pick up that phone and make that phone call. And how many people have met their spouses without having alcohol involved somehow? So there is that, the positive side of alcohol. We know what it is, but we rarely talk about it because we also know what the danger is. The danger we have made a lot of beautiful films about. And Thomas's mission was not to make another one of these. He wanted to celebrate it to a degree. He also obviously wanted to touch upon the darker side of it, but he wanted to be a celebration of alcohol and more so a celebration of life. I mean, it's no secret that these characters, especially mine, he's standing on a platform and the train has left him. He's super regretting his past, and he's enormously jealous on the future, and he's simply forgotten to live in the present and embrace life as it is. So that's what the film is about, with or without alcohol. But we started out thinking it might have been too Danish, but it turns out that every culture can relate to it. I mean, alcohol has been around for 6,000, 7,000 years, right? Yeah. But then again, I think also the theme is, the Kickstarter of the film is the experiment with the alcohol. The film itself is about life, and I think that might be resonating a lot.
Yeah, and also kind of just with your character, Mark, and actually with all of your characters, all of you are outsiders to the worlds that you are within. Kind of as Martin has obviously, even within the experiment, he seems like he's the only one that kind of is not always all in, is on the edge of kind of, do I want to do so or not? And then obviously then gets convinced into kind of joining into that kind of, just on the precipice, kind of in between both worlds.
Yeah, I mean, and then he takes charge. He's leading the way, right? I mean, well, it turns out to work for him fairly well in the beginning, and then really well. And if 2 is good, why isn't 4 better? Why isn't 6 3 times as good? So the classical downfall, he's leading the way with that. But it is a success to a degree. But what they don't realize is that they are having their head stuck up in their own whatever, and they forget to look at each other. And one of the friends is not in the same position as they are, and they didn't see it coming.
I'm going to change tack completely, but still I want to talk about the dancing, because it's just joyous and it's great. And how was it always there? Was it written in for you? Am I right in thinking that you are a trained dancer, or have I misheard that somewhere along the way?
Yeah, I was a dancer I was a gymnast, and then I became a professional dancer for 9 odd years. And this is 30 rusty years ago. It was always there. It was placed in the middle, and then it went to the end, and then it was back again, back and forth. And we had a lot of discussions, me and Thomas. I wasn't necessarily against dancing in a film. I just really wanted to be persuaded how we could pull it off. In my world, when you make a realistic film, it can maybe come across as quite pretentious if somebody starts dancing all of a sudden. So I always tried to convince Thomas that it should be his drunken imagination, you know, a heightened scene somehow. And Thomas was super polite and nodding and listening every time, and he just said, "No, you're just dancing, man. That's what I want to see." And I can happily say that he was 100% right and I was 100% wrong. It turned out to we pulled it off, but not only because he was right, but also because the circumstances were so beautiful. All the youngsters were like intoxicated by life in that scene, and they were dancing. At least they were dancing inside of themselves at that point. So they were not looking at me as a spectators, but they were just part of the scene. So we could pull it off, and it was not about the aesthetics of dancing. It was about the inner journey that this character has been through. He's just lost someone he loved dearly, and he's just regained someone he loves dearly within the last hour. So we wanted to make a portrait of a man who wants to fly and he wants to drown at the same time. And I think that might be the reason why we did pull it off.
Yeah. Immersing yourself in a sensory kind of experience. Tahar, I just wanted to know how you worked with Kevin, and if you did kind of, obviously so much of what we see of your characters, obviously in Guantanamo, in various cells or kind of in confinement of some sort. And I just wondered how, if there was kind of sensory things put in place for you to do that, or, you know, or if it was a case of kind of finding that place within your own head.
Yes, look, I tried to find it in my own head. Like, as you know, as an actor, sometimes it depends on your life experience. You can use what you have in your head, in your guts, and what you've been through. And this time, it was just not possible. I mean, how could I possibly know what it is to be tortured and treated this way, to be treated as a virus finally, because they would wear rubber gloves, masks, and would call them by numbers. So Mohammed was 760, and I tried my best, and I couldn't find another way. For example, if I had to, I don't know, I played in a show. I was playing a trumpeter. So I would train over and over, and then I come on set, and if I worked enough and I had enough time, it's okay, right? This time I couldn't, you know, wear shackles 24 hours a day in my hotel rooms. So I thought, why recreate when you can create? And plus, I couldn't do it otherwise. So I, out of respect to Mohamedou and the people who are still living this, and my director and the audience, I needed to get as close as possible to his actual conditions so I could convey authenticity. I couldn't, and I didn't want to sell something. So yeah, I asked them to turn the cells as cold as possible. I wore real shackles. You know, I got waterboarded, but it was intense, really. And I had to lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time because I was shooting something I only had 3 weeks to match physically with Mohamedou. And the last 6 days of the shooting were very intense because it was all the interrogation scenes and the torture scenes. So, you know, when you fast that hard and you get so exhausted, it becomes more of an experience than a performance, and you know, your spirit flies to some emotional places that are unexpected, and I don't know, I couldn't do it otherwise, and at some point I really felt it, but it has nothing to do with Mohamedou. I mean, I knew in the back of my mind that I would go back to my hotel room when we wrapped. But yeah, there was one moment very strange because, of course, I happened to have some tools to portray Mohamedou culturally wise, and you know, and he lost his mom while he was there. I did too, and when we had to play that scene, it was the last day of shooting when he hallucinates, and he sees his mom in the cell. You know, I almost saw my own mom. It was so strange. So I said to Kevin, I can only do it once, you know, just one take, and I collapsed. But yeah, it was I needed it. I couldn't do it otherwise. I don't know. Some actors are gifted enough to just, you know, live it through their inside of their head. I just couldn't.